Gobble gobble, welcome to the So I'm a Fan of Thanksgiving Animation Special, where people from different fandoms come together to share why they love what they love.
And sometimes hate what they hate. I'm your host, Kaiser Brown.
And I'm Sabrina Gill.
And today we're celebrating Turkey Day by not only watching one, but two animated specials.
That's right, we're watching Steven Universe's Gem Harvest and Teen Titans Go's A Doom Patrol Thanksgiving.
Are you ready, Sabrina?
Let's do this.
All right, let's get started. But wait, before we do, I think I have a few jokes for you. Are you ready?
Oh gosh, as ready as I'll ever be.
Why did the turkey bring a microphone?
Why?
He was ready to roast.
Okay, I'll give you that one. A little cringe.
I got another.
What you got?
Why shouldn't you sit next to a turkey at the dinner table?
Why?
Because he'll gobble the dinner up.
Oh.
Okay. Last one. I need you to ask me a question. This is the question. Got any cornbread jokes?
Got any cornbread jokes?
I do, but they're corny. I'm so funny. Like, wow. I have so many good jokes.
Oh yeah, good.
Wow, I agree because I'm an awesome comedian. How are you today, Sabrina?
I'm okay. We're getting close to Thanksgiving, which is, I guess, exciting. It's a day off of work.
And that's why we're doing this Thanksgiving special, because I had no idea that Thanksgiving was next week until Monday, which happened a few days ago. I was like, wait a second. It's Thanksgiving. Sabrina, we have to do a Thanksgiving special episode.
Yeah.
So at first, we were going to talk about Steven Universe, but we're pushing that to next week. We're still talking about Steven Universe, the Thanksgiving special. But we decided to combine that with another popular Cartoon Network show that's been going on for 10 years now, Teen Titans Go. And we're doing a Doom Patrol Thanksgiving. That's their second Thanksgiving special. It's a weird Thanksgiving special, but we'll get into that later. Now, before we start, I want to talk about how on our past episodes, we did Power of Hope, Precure, Full Bloom. Watch that two-parter. It's really fun. We had a great time. But somebody did vote on a poll on who their favorite cure was so far in the show. And so far, they said Cure Aqua, which is Kaden. I agree that she is an amazing character. My favorite, though, is Cure Mint. Sabrina, who's your favorite so far?
I think I said my favorite was actually, was it Karen? It might have been her. I think I also agree.
No, I think was your favorite. Yeah, that was your favorite Cure, but I don't know. Or was it Mai? Because Cure Mint is Kamachi. And I know you said Mai had your favorite episode.
You're right.
Mai and Saki had your favorite episode.
You're right. I think it was Mai because I was like, oh, the corporate queen, kicking butt, taking names.
So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to go back and watch those two episodes. And if you enjoy those two episodes, I suggest that you go and watch I'm a Fan of Shoujo with Alyssa Vessel, because we talk about a lot more shoujo anime and manga on there, doing our top 5 lists. But that's enough about those type of shoujos. Maybe we should talk about another type of shoujo-like show called Steven Universe.
Yes.
Sabrina, what's your relationship to that show? Because I have no real prior relationship besides seeing a few episodes in passing in the background, not really watching the show. So what's your relationship with Steven Universe, and why do you want to talk about it?
So, I actually, back in the day when it first came out, I wasn't a super big fan. Similar to many other, I guess, cartoons directed at younger audiences, it started out a little, where each episode was something different, a little bit goofy, but providing like a little bit of story, obviously, to what would later be the narrative of the show. So like it basically just kind of gave a fun way of like the synopsis of different parts and aspects of this young boy who is actually also part gem and part human. And so it's how he discovers his powers by making goofy mistakes and teaching obvious lessons of like why you should listen to people who may be more experienced than you because it's for your safety, or maybe how you should treat people in a more respectful manner instead of just following your own choices all the time. It was like a nice way to teach kids, I guess, in a fun way about like very much more like adult considerations and concepts. But as of, I think it was like the end of season 1, it kind of took a turn to where it actually started to rope in a more like older audience, like young adults. because it had a more mature narrative of this happy-go-lucky show that started out as, like, goofy episodes here and there, became a little serious, like, there was an undertone, and so that's when I got hooked. I wasn't as controversial as it is, I was not the biggest fan of original Steven Universe because there's the argument that, like, you gotta like all of it in order to be a real fan, and I'm be honest, I like the when it started to get that more mature tone is when I definitely, like, got, like, sucked into the world of Steven Universe. And from there, I just,
Mm,
like, was obsessed, like, I was waiting for episodes, I had friends who liked it. It was very, like, I guess, inspiring as a young kid who, like, I guess, like, wasn't just normal, like, wasn't heteronormative, and it was nice. It was like it gave, like, representation to all, like, different kinds of people that I felt was interesting, and, like, of
mhm,
course, it used the sense of, like, that they were, like, aliens and, like, they felt foreign to, like, Earth or, like, our world, but in reality, they found home in this world, like, that is, like, different from them and found acceptance in one another and, like, this, like, relationship, between what was humans and gems. Yeah, without spoiling too much of the
mhm.
series yet, because obviously we're gonna have a whole episode dedicated to Steven Universe.
Spoil it all, tell us all the tea, give us
No,
all the
no, no, we still gotta talk about Teen Titans Go! I
let
can't
it
take up
out.
the whole episode. This is a Thanksgiving
Yeah,
special.
yeah. Yes, and that's exactly what we're doing, so we're talking about Gem Harvest, so, is this the only Steven Universe Thanksgiving episode?
I think technically and, like, I think it's very much not described as, like, Thanksgiving to be a little more inclusive, like, the idea of
Yeah,
just, like, a meal
yeah,
together, but it's obviously Thanksgiving. They got pumpkins, they got corn, it's like
it's
a
an
big
option.
a big family meal at a barn, like, what is more Southern than
Mhm.
that? Like
I thought it was a cute episode because it starts off with, like, Steven, he's going, because who are they? Peridot and Lapis, they live in a
yes, okay,
barn.
so I forget you don't know anything about Steven Universe, so, like, you just coming in and it's these gems, Lapis and Peridot living in a barn that's full of I say trash, it's like that they, like I'm sure it
Yeah.
was definitely very different for you. How'd you feel?
No, it was cute. I found it funny because they grew a whole bunch of veggies
Yeah.
actually because there was this huge cornfield, but they were upset that the veggies were not sentient.
Yes.
And so they were confused why the corn and the stuff wasn't coming alive and wasn't talking and walking around and stuff.
Yes. So
And I'm just like, "This is very
so that's
interesting
actually because
because they say on their planet or whatever, where they're from, is the stuff is alive whenever they
well,
grow, like,
so it's not
they harvest their
food
gems or
because
whatever.
gems don't actually need food to survive, so they don't really eat on their home world.
You know, eat.
But the way gems
Mhm.
are made, at least, like, in other worlds, is they take over a planet and they basically inject, like, crystals into the ground, and they basically pop out gem people. Like, there's a whole episode where you find out that, like, Amethyst, like, you go to her it's called a kindergarten is what they call it because that's where the gems are born. And they go to Amethyst kindergarten, and it's literally just this canyon with hole after hole, like, human-shaped, and that's where just, like, the gems are inserted, and then they just pop out full grown like, ready to go, little soldiers. So Amethyst thought that all
My
these
gosh.
vegetables that she just
Yeah.
shoved in the ground were gonna pop out as these, like, humanoid vegetables that they were gonna be able to talk to. She was like
Uh-huh.
and I think it's, like, cute though too because obviously, like, they're refugees from their planet because 'cause they've helped, like, the crystal gems help the humans, and it's just like,
Mm.
"Oh, yes, we're happy to be on Earth," and they wanna enjoy Earth, but it, like, has this underlying, like, homesickness of, like, missing what is, like, their normalcy.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so, like,
Mm.
funny.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it was funny because I think Steven is so sweet because he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna do something to help them." I'm like, how old is Steven? Like
Yeah,
13,
he's, like, in
14,
his
something like that?
young teens, I think.
Yeah, and I only remember that because an episode that I saw him passing years ago when I was in, like, high school. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, Kaiser, don't be like that. But years ago when I was in high school, um, where he had a birthday episode, and they were like, "You turning 13 or 14? You're so short," or whatever, and I'm like,
Yeah, Short King,
"You look
Kaiser?
so young." I'm like, "It's okay." Well, he's taller than me because I looked on the wiki, he's like 5 and when he gets to future, it's like
Mhm.
5'6". I'm 5'5", so, that's an inch on me. But he decides to grow a vegetable for them, and it turns out to be this pumpkin, and the pumpkin ends up being alive.
Well,
I don't know
so
how else to put
Steven
it.
has
It
special
can
spit.
walk, it can talk as a dog.
Steven's spitting, and so, like, when he sees them upset, he's like, "Let me just." I know Garnet says not to, like, go licking things that, like, like, randomly, but he just decides to, like, use his spit, and when he puts it in the pumpkin patch,
Okay,
it grows Pumpkin, who's, like, this, like, dog-inspired, like, little pumpkin,
okay.
and
That
yeah.
that makes sense because he was like, he's I know not to lick things or whatever. I'm like, I never put 2 and 2 together that his spit is a thing that's magic.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, let's just go over the episode.
Yeah, so, of course, he makes pumpkin, and, like,
Um
they're so excited, like, Lapis and Peridot think it's, like, their hard work has, like, come to, like, mean
mhm,
only for them to realize that Pumpkin is, like, just a little too obsessed with Steven, and they're like, "Oh, it was you, wasn't it?" And he admits to it. "I'm sorry."
that yeah. That is until he decides to carve a pumpkin in front of
Yeah,
Pumpkin, traumatizing that poor little thing.
I know.
I was like, "That thing has to go to therapy now." Like, you just messed it up on this first day of life. Like, you carving the pumpkin in front of it, its whole face and attitude changed towards Steven. It ran away from him and ran to them. I thought they were gonna do a whole storyline with that this episode, but they didn't.
No.
Pumpkin just got comfortable. I guess they forgave Steve, I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
you wanna
they're
call the
like, "You know what?
pumpkin.
Thanks for carving that pumpkin, Steven. Now we have our son, Pumpkin."
So how did they meet Steve and Peridot and Lapis?
Okay,
Because I know the other gems were
so
there from the beginning. So were they did they come in, like, halfway through the
I
show
was gonna
or
say,
something?
actually, you meet Peridot in one of the episodes I assigned for, like, us to watch next week. But I guess just to preface, because I think that
Okay.
episode I don't think it's the first time we meet her. So, basically, Peridot is part of a team that goes to different planets and checks to see if they're eligible to be used to create gems. And once she's there, she's kind of like the head
Mhm.
engineer of sorts that kind of constructs the kindergarten, sets everything up. She's like the organizer. And she usually brings some muscle with her. And she's, like, really obnoxious, like, "Holier than thou, I'm a gem, humans are clods," like, full snob. But obviously, of course, through character
Mhm.
development, progression in the story, eventually she joins the Crystal Gems and is a little lost because obviously in Earth, she's kind of I wouldn't say useless, but she doesn't have necessarily a purpose yet. Whereas all the other gems have, like, special abilities, Peridot at this point does not, like, she's just a gem, she's all brains, if you will, versus, like, the bronze, and so she's really smart, to an
Mhm.
extent, in, like, gem knowledge, but physically, she doesn't have any, like, special gifts like the rest of the gems. So, that's kinda where her kinda
Okay.
plot begins on Earth, and then Lapis actually was trapped in a mirror for, like, a long time, and Steven ends up, of course, like, fixing the mirror and saving Lapis with his spit, ironically. He finds the mirror cracked, and he, of course, like, notices the gem on it, and he uses his spit to heal the gem, and there comes Lapis from the
Mhm.
mirror saved, but she too is, like has a lot of, like, pent-up anger and angst because she feels betrayed, and, again, she feels, like, a sense of loyalty and, like, mission from her programming as a gem in Homeworld, but Steven kinda, like, tries to encourage this, like, softness of, like, you're not always at war. Not everyone is your enemy, and so, again, through progression and eventually the 2 end up staying together in this barn, like, polar opposites, if you will. Lapis being a little more stoic
Mhm.
and, like, a sharpshooter, whereas Lapis is, like, this short, little extravagant being who's just, like, the main event, if you will, and with the brains, and then Lapis is,
Mhm.
like, the muscle who handles
Mhm.
everything with her water abilities.
Yeah. I can I Oh, she's the muscle with the water abilities 'cause it would seem like the kinda opposite how their personalities seem to, like Lapis seems a bit more not I don't wanna say tactical, she seems a bit more
Yeah.
reserved and just
Well,
she's not gonna be the first to just, like, jump in a fight. I feel, Peridot will be
yeah.
like,
Yeah, Peridot's the kind to talk like big
just with
but
the
is, like,
voice too.
no bite.
Uh-huh.
But then Lapis is, like, the calm, cool reserve that, like,
Oh.
you make her mad, and she's like, "Ah, you're gone. You're cut off." And I think
Mhm.
that too, 'cause it kinda, like again, it shows through their farm of, like, how Peridot is, like, the organizer, she sets up the farm, and then, of course, Lapis is, like, her muscle that, like, handles all the heavy lifting and handles the irrigation of the farm, like, the power. house of the farm. And so
Oh, see, that's a nice
yeah,
little
so there
contrast.
a lot of
I
people,
like
like, obviously, there's shipping in the fandom, and some of it's canon, some of it's not, and so a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, Lapis and Peridot." But I don't know, I think they're just, like right now, at
mhm,
least, I think they're friends. I think they're learning from each other to, like, mellow the other out, if you will. Like, Lapis learns to be a little more
mm,
expressive, whereas, Peridot is learning to, like, become a little more reserved in her obnoxious behavior that may come off as being, tactless.
mm,
But regardless, they have their own little home in the barn, and they both have, like, this newfound enjoyment of, like, recycling junk, like, human, like, waste that, like, things that people just abandon,
yeah,
and I think that's just so cute. And, like, their home, like, they don't show it in this
mhm,
episode, but there's another episode where Steven first visits the barn and sees all the changes, and you get to, like, go through the barn and see how, like, all the stuff they've, like, made into, like,
mhm.
almost art.
Yeah, but speaking of the
Yeah.
barn, okay, so apparently the barn is not really owned by them because there is another owner of the barn. I won't say owner, but he comes in and he's all upset and stuff,
Mhm.
right? So he's like, "What have you done to my barn, my family's barn, or whatever?" And it turns out to be some he thinks like at first he thinks hippies break into the
Yeah.
barn, and then he learns that it's just like these 2, like, gems or whatever. He doesn't well, gem it's not I don't know, but he just sees them and he's like, "Why are you moving into, like, this DeMayo, we're the DeMayos, this is my barn. Why are you here? You shouldn't be here," or whatever. And we find out that his name is Andy, and it turns out that Andy is Greg's cousin, which makes Andy Steven's cousin, which means they're like first cousins, first
Yeah.
removed or something like that. Once removed or something like that. And it turns out, because we finding out that Steven's real last name, because his father decided to like change it, is not Universe, but DeMayo. And it turns out that it's Steven is a DeMayo who owns his family owns the barn that Peridot and Lapis are living in.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny too, but, like, Mr. Universe
Mhm,
actually, like, he legally changed his name, so Steven's name is technically Universe. But, yeah, no, Andy's, like, real mad.
mhm.
He's like, "Greg, why'd you give away the family barn? You don't even act like a member of this family. You even changed your name. How you giving away the family barn?"
Yeah, he disappeared
He's one of
20
the
years ago,
and,
apparently.
like, Andy, like, just to describe and preface, he's like this all-American, like, kinda stereotyped kinda guy. Not the worst.
He
Like, he's definitely very much like when he sees the gems, like Kaiser said, it's like he's like, looks at them and it's like, of course, it's like describing all their alien qualities, and then he's just like, "Oh my gosh, they're
yeah, he
hippies."
was
Like,
yeah, no, because they made an alien
yeah,
joke
illegal
because he was like,
aliens,
"You know how they be like aliens, illegal
like they were
aliens?"
immigrants.
And I found that hilarious. I was like, "Andy,
Yeah, I
you
was
kinda
like
racist." But it's not okay to be racist, but that's the thing about his character, that's what they trying to go for, and I found that hilarious, and it's also when he finds out that Steve, because Steven is what's his name?
mhm.
Was it Greg's child? And he finds out that, he was with Rose Quartz, and then the funny thing about it, he tells him that he and Rose Quartz weren't legally
Well, that
married.
was, like, part of an argument later, like, he just has
And
every
he
single problem with this non-conventional family in
Mhm,
a sense that, like, the crystal gems have created,
mhm,
which, again, like, he has, like, these like I say, like, sprouts of, like, frustration, but I would just also like to preface that he, like, mellows out pretty well. It's not like he's, like, indignant, like, "Oh, these
mhm.
immigrants."
He has a reason why he's acting
Yeah,
like that
well, it
as we get
is.
in further in the
Always is.
episode, and there's always a reason, because he's like, "You gotta get out of here," but they're like they decide they're gonna throw a feast because if they can throw a feast and convince him to, because he's like, "If you throw a feast and can convince me to let you stay,
Well,
then I'll
what
let you
happens
stay."
is
And so they just
you're getting a little ahead of yourself, guys. No, I'm kidding. Steven tries to, like, say that they have sentimental value, and that's when Andy brings up the meal. Like, the gems are or Steven, I guess, more in particular, is like, "Look, if we have this family meal that you had, then, like, is there a possibility that since now you see them as family, they can have the barn?" And no offense, Andy ain't smart enough to come up with this plan. Not to be mean, to come up
mhm,
with this plan. So, of course, everybody that's when they all start trying to, like, have this, like, montage of family fun of them, like, harvesting from the farm like a traditional family to make this big dinner. for everybody.
Well, no, because at one point they start, like, because they get the food or whatever, and they're starting to cut it up or whatever, and so they take one of his parents'
Planes,
um, airplane,
engines.
uh, airplane engines, and then start to cut up stuff like that. He's like, "That's my mom and
Yeah, he was definitely
my mom and that's"
Could you imagine,
and
like,
so I
something of
don't
your parents and then
yeah,
just somebody using it to make dinner?
yeah. 'Cause they were confused why he was angry or whatever, and Greg was like, "What's going on with you?" I'm like, "Honestly, I'm gonna have to be on his side because you just took his parents' plane engine and tore it up to use it to cut food. Like, where's your house? Go use that stuff. Like,
Well,
what are
and
you
I think it's
doing?" You know what I
important to,
mean?
like, obviously state that obviously the gems have, like, no malicious intent. In their mind, everything in the barn is just, like, this
Mhm,
abandoned junk. So
mhm,
they also don't,
mhm,
in Homeworld, they don't have families. So it's, like,
mhm,
basically they're treated like robots. Like, just
mm,
little
yeah,
soldiers that do whatever. So
yeah,
they don't
mm,
understand, like, a familial sentiment. And so, like, it's
yeah.
important to say that they're trying, but obviously they're still gonna be a little insensitive.
I'm talking less about the gems and more about Greg because Greg didn't really say
Oh, Greg's
anything,
a
you know what I
little
mean? He just let him
yeah,
do that stuff. And I'm like, you know, that didn't because I knew because they say that about the gems several times through this episode because that's the whole point, and they learn about family and their family with Steven, and the reason why they're doing all this for Andy and stuff is because they see Steven as family, they learn to see him as family, and but I it's like, "Greg, you didn't think that maybe that wasn't a good idea to take your aunt and uncle's plane engines to" Greg, he seems a bit I like him. I like
he's a
Greg.
little
It
too
was just like
laxed, I guess, at times, if it makes sense. And
mm,
he develops as the series
mhm,
goes, because like, is a time where he's almost like Steven's friend versus, like, his dad, and which is obviously a concern,
mm,
and, like, emotionally for children, like, this is another one of those, I guess, adult concepts of, like, almost like a lesson to adults as well that, like, you can't just leave your kid to raise themselves, like, you have to know, like, how to, like, take care of your kid because that's, like, also your responsibility. So, I feel
mm,
like you said, it's like it kinda speaks to him, like, just, like, letting the gems do what they want kind of situation, but then realizing, like, the consequences of doing that, of, like, obviously Andy getting
mhm,
upset and over his, like, first plane he ever learned to fly on getting turned into, like, an oven. And
mhm.
that creates more discourse, and Steven kinda, like, sends the gems off to, like, go on their own so they could have some, like, human alone time, if you will, to try and, like, bandage up the situation.
And so while they leave, Andy, Greg, Steven, and Amethyst, still work on the food, and so Andy is, like, really good at, like, peeling potatoes, cutting it up, and he's talking about how he had to do that, and that's when he mentions, like, one of the family members, who's like there I don't know if that's his mom, Deb is his mom, and is Greg's Aunt Deb, I don't know. But anyways, he's like, "Well, how's Aunt Deb doing?" And then Andy's quite upset. He's like, "It's been 20 years, and now you're wondering how Aunt Deb is doing? You coulda checked on her yourself," you know what I mean? 'Cause you can tell there's some hurt and pain going on under there. And so he's annoyed, and, Andy's just continually being annoyed. But what I find funny is because the gyms are trying to make him feel better, so they come back with, with a wedding cake. They're like, "We know how much marriage is important to you, so we decided that how about we all just get married to
Well,
each
I think it's
other?"
also, like, a point to make that, like, they brought, like, more than just a cake. They were like, "Oh, we brought all the things that
Yeah,
humans
no, I was about
love."
to get to
They're
that.
like, "We bought that
Yeah,
cake
because
for
then he was
marriage, we bought you a baby balloon,"
mhm,
and then
like,
they brought this man
balloon,
his literal
tombstone,
tombstone.
tombstone that said "Rip Andy."
I think the fact that it has his name on it is what makes it worse. Like,
Mhm,
could you imagine someone just showing up to your home with your tombstone with your name on it? That's like a death threat.
'cause yeah, because they meant well. Because he laughed because they meant well, because they were like, "We see that you're a very traditional type of guy, so we decided to celebrate all the human traditions that we could." And that just cracked me, especially the gravestone and especially the wedding cake. They're like, "Let's just get married to each other," and I just
I
found
think it
that
was funny too,
hilarious.
cause like, earlier in the episode when they're like, he's like, "Oh, which one's the lady?" Like, Steven's mom, and he, like, starts going down the list of, like, who he could be
Mhm,
married to, and it's like, "No, since you were so obsessed with marriage earlier, we let's get married, like, here's the cake." It does
mhm,
that loop around, and I think in this, like, better mood, he kinda realizes also that, like, yeah, it sucks that the plane was, like, taken apart, but, like, he kinda sees, like, the silver lining of, like, obviously they meant well, and that the plane now has in a sense, and a new purpose in, like, this newer generation. So it kinda opens up his, like, a little bit of his closed-mindedness and tradition.
Go
And then
ahead,
they
go.
decide like, they all basically kind of, like, come to this agreement that they're gonna have, like, a very untraditional, like, family dinner. Like, he even makes it just, like, starting with cake first, like, as, like, the beginning.
Start with the wedding cake first. But that's when they get into, like, well, he learns they can't eat or whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's lesson well, they can eat, they just choose not to eat. Besides, who is it, Amethyst?
Yeah,
Amethyst just
amethyst
loves
love
eating.
food.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's what I'll be. Honestly, if I was a gym, just, like, eating for fun. Cause why not? I don't have to be hungry, so I can just eat whenever I want. It's not like
Yeah,
anything's gonna happen.
or shape you wanna be, like, you don't have to worry about your body getting, like,
Mm-mm.
overweight or anything, you just eat however much you
Right.
want.
But they all go around the table saying thank you to each other, and then it's really sad because, like, I don't know who starts off with a thank you, but the gyms, they just do a whole bunch of thank yous, and then that's when, Pearl is like, "Raise your hand if you've been told thank you. Did we get everyone? Did we get everyone?" And they forgot about
Yeah,
Andy.
and it's a point to make too that, like, before this, like, they start, like, talking and joking, but
Mhm,
it's only about stuff that the
mhm.
gems are basically kinda giving the synopsis.
Yeah.
You don't know the story.
Yeah, I put that in my notes. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
out of the joke because y'all just talking about these war
So they
stories or
basically
whatever,
describe the
making
plot
jokes.
as, like, a joke of, like,
Mm,
everything they're talking about is, like,
yeah, I
their
got that.
their life story, but the issue is that, like, obviously Andy hasn't been in this story up until now. So it's kinda like the buildup of them excluding them, and then, of course, Pearl has to go and be a kind of a Claude and be like, "Oh, who hasn't been thanked?" And, of course, it's Andy, and what other do they thank him for than bringing them all together tonight at this table, and it kinda just is like
You're
this punch
right.
to the face of like, "Oh, yeah, you just, like, brought us all here, thanks," and, like, kinda just unknowingly
Yeah.
exclude him, which is, like, a little sad, and he obviously is, like, having this, like, realization, like, looking at the wedding cake of this lone little figure and this single piece of cake while everyone is off as part of the bigger piece of cake, in a sense. Everyone else at the table is, like, together while he is still alone, even in this crowd of people. It, like, has this, like, really big impact, and it's kinda crazy, and, obviously, it would make him
Mhm.
upset having that realization with his life.
Yeah, yeah, and so he gets up and leaves. He's like, "You can have the barn," and so he goes on his plane, and they're like, "What's going on? Did we do something?
Yeah, they're like, "What do we do?"
Did we do something? What did we do? What?" Oh,
Yeah, and then, of course,
this
Steven's
show
like,
is
"No, no, no,
funny.
we're not letting this go like this," so he gets Lapis, and he's like,
Mhm,
"Okay, we're flying after him," and so she makes her water wings, and they chase
mhm.
after him.
Why is Steven a shoujo protagonist? That's what I
Because
wanna
she
know. This is a
is.
shoujo anime because when he went up there and then started chasing after him, like, it's quite anime. Shonen protagonists do it too. He is full on shoujo. He is just, like, how he goes about it and everything. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I just had to
No,
point out that Steven
you're not
Universe is a
wrong. It
shoujo
it
anime for
really
everybody
is
that
like
don't
that,
know.
especially if you watch the whole
Uh-huh.
show. Honestly, I feel like you would like this whole show. Just 'cause the development
Mhm,
and everything, and it's very funny. And it's also like I said, it tackles these very, like, real world topics in a very, like, nice, like, kind way. And so, anyway, I guess back to the story. Of course, Steven's chasing after him, and you kind of like get this monologue from Andy, who's trying to make Steven go away, who's kind of like everybody after Greg left, everyone in the family just kind of slowly like left as well and moved on with their lives. Even Aunt Deb, this character
mhm.
earlier. And so he just kind of feels like he's the only one who stayed and is like left alone and upset. And that even though he can fly anywhere he wants, like it's like he's always alone. And, of course, like, Steven, like, finding this out is like, "Lapis, throw me on the plane," and, dramatically, she heaves him up on there, and the plane's, like, shaking off balance, and Steven basically is kinda, like starts telling Andy everything, like, he loves about them and this visit that they had together, and, of course, he is like, "I just want us to be a family." He's like, "Even though I'm happy with the crystal gems, and I love the crystal gems as a gem, I'm also human. I want us to be a
Human.
family."
He wants to know his human
And
side.
it's like
Yes,
I know,
that's
it's
so
so sweet
sweet.
until he falls off the plane, and it's like this dramatic scene, and you don't know this, but one of Steven's abilities that he's yet to unlock that he did once so far at this point in the show, he floats. He had this
Mhm.
ability where he can just float, but he hadn't mastered it yet. He didn't know how to trigger it, and so as he's falling, he's just telling himself, "I have to float. I have to float. I have to float."
Yeah, I picked up on
But
that.
sure enough, Andy catches him at the last second with the plane, and he falls ironically into the passenger seat in the plane. And Andy starts, like, fussing at him, like, yelling at him, like, "That was so dangerous. Why could you ever do this?" And then as the man turns around, he's, like, tearing, like, crying, worried about his nephew, cousin, whatever their relationship is, I guess. And of course, Andy's just, like, happy he's
He technically cousin calls
yeah,
him nephew, cause I mean, like, you that much older than him anyway,
yeah,
so might as well. But families do that in real life, though.
yeah.
They really
You're
do.
not wrong.
Be old enough, we're calling you if you old enough, I'm gonna call you, like, my uncle or, you're my
Yeah.
nephew or whatever.
And,
It is what it is.
then, of course, like, they're flying back, and Andy kind of admits, like, how up to this point he had wanted everything to stay the same, but he's too afraid that at this point it's too late to change. And of course, like, we hit the moral of the story where Steven's kind of like, it's never too late to change. And that, if he wants to do what he wants to do, he can. And Andy's kinda like, "Well, with this plane, I could have just gone to all these people who have moved on and no longer stayed." And of course, they were Andy and Greg have their squabble, but it's kind of like more lighthearted. It's like the resolve of that conflict between the 2 from 20 years ago, and they decide to resume dinner. And that is like
Mhm.
episode closes with everybody going back to their meal.
Yes. Sabrina, what'd you think about this
Um
episode? Go ahead, as a Steven Universe
So, as a
fan.
Steven Universe fan, I really liked the episode. I felt it was really wholesome. It had that, I guess, little bout of action with, like, that whole plane chase, which Steven Universe is really good at its little action sequences accompanied by these more heartfelt moments. I wouldn't say it's necessarily my favorite episode, but it's definitely, like, one of the more wholesome
Mhm.
episodes. It's, like, one of the nicer, like, in your feels episodes, which I guess is what
Mhm.
classified it, in my opinion, as, like, a Thanksgiving special. It, like, shows you the value of family and, how even though, like, maybe both sides of your family may not get along, that, everyone can come together and have that kind of moment of intimacy.
I thought it was a very sweet episode that just it was nice to watch, and even though it was all the way in
Mhm.
season 4, it didn't feel like that I was missing out on much. It just felt like a good standalone episode to watch that introduced me to the show and to its characters. I got a good grasp of everyone's personality just by, like, their little interactions with each other. Like, I feel like these are, like, they're fully developed characters with their own I don't know their story arcs and things like that for the most part, besides things that I've seen on the
Mhm.
internet here and there, but I never watched the show. I can tell that Pearl is a bit, like she's a bit, I don't wanna say yeah, she's
Yeah,
a bit
she's
snooty,
like,
and
"Oh,
she's a
ho,
bit, like
ho."
uh-huh, and I can tell that Amethyst likes to eat despite not
Yeah,
is Amethyst right? Yeah. Amethyst likes to eat despite not having
yeah,
to. I can tell that Garnet is more of, like, the
yeah, tough.
leader and yeah, and leads everybody along the way because it was Garnet's idea to make sure that, they all work together so that Andy and Steven can have, like, their happy family interactions and they can be seen as family,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it was really just fun to watch. I thought it was a cute episode. I love the little pumpkin
Yes.
creature. And it was nice to watch with this and Teen Titans Go to watch episodes that were not super long.
I
They were
know,
only
we were
23
watching, like,
minutes.
these
The past
40-something minute, like, over an hour-long episodes after we take
uh-huh.
notes. It's it was such a nice
Yeah.
break.
This was a nice, easy episode to take notes
Mhm.
on. Teen Titans Go, I feel, was easier, but Teen Titans
Yeah, it's
Go
a
was a
little
bit
more
crazy. We'll get
sporadic.
to that. And yeah, especially later on in the show, but yeah, so Steven Universe was really fun. What would you rank this out of how many gems out of 5 would
Um,
you rank Steven
like, just this
Universe?
episode?
This
Okay.
episode this episode, because 'cause I've only
I
seen this
give it
episode.
a
Gem
4
Harvest.
out of 5. I really liked it, but there are some really crazy good episodes in, like, terms of, like, music, because Steven Universe in general tends to have, like, obviously a little bit of singing and, like, a good, like, soundtrack just in
Yeah.
general.
We
I know.
thought it was
Okay,
two
it's so
gems.
good. You don't
Yesterday.
understand. You haven't even heard Water Witch. Oh, that's one of my favorite songs. Anyway, so needless to say, it was a really good episode. There obviously are some that are a little more interesting, like plot wise, but I think as like I don't wanna call it a filler, but, like, as, like, a seasonal, like, little nod.
A standalone episode because
Yeah,
we just
it's
doing this
really
episode,
good.
yeah. Yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5 too. I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. It was a lot of fun, and like I said, the character interactions were really like I feel like Steven Universe is a very character-based
Mhm,
show, you can tell. I can tell that it has a narrative, like, a overall overarching
mhm,
narrative going on, but it's really the characters that get you staying for the show, you know what I mean? I can
yeah.
really tell that. Because from what I've seen of Steven Universe, people just love those freaking
Oh, yeah.
characters. They love them. And so, seeing this episode, I can tell why, you know, and it makes me I'm excited to see, like, what I'm gonna discover, you know, more about this show. I'm not sure I'm ever gonna watch the full show of Steven Universe, we'll
You
see,
should, we should, like, do that.
with the
We can marathon it, you can come over, we can, like, once a week, just, like, binge a couple episodes, have
Oh
fun.
god. Oh, Lord, we'll see, but yeah, this was great. Steven Universe, Jim Harvest, go watch it, guys. It's now time to move to Teen Titans
Yeah.
Go! Doom Patrol Thanksgiving. Hi, fanatics. It's me, Kaiser,
Sabrina.
and I'm here to tell you about the IAFO store. Buy stickers, buy shirts, right, Sabrina?
Of course.
What's your favorite item on there? My favorite is my melanin collection. I love looking at my sweatshirts and the masks, chains. It's so cool.
I actually enjoy the stickers. I love how each of them is themed after a different podcast episode done in your own unique style. I just think it's like a nice way to collect the year, having them all together and finishing out 2023 on a very high and colorful note.
Yes, right now we have the ho 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 sticker with Santa Claus. We also have the melanin sticker. You can find all that there on the IAFO store. All at IAFOstore.com. Go and look at it right away.
So, guys,
Mhm.
what's your relationship with Teen Titans Go? Hmm?
My relationship with girl, let me tell you, because I grew up watching
Same,
Teen
same, same,
Titans,
same.
okay? Teen Titans came out 2003. I was 4 years old, so I was old enough to remember when it came out. Came out that year, and I was watching it while I was on TV. That's when Cartoon Network still had
Mhm.
Toonami, but because you know, Toonami left, and then it went on Adult Swim, but before that, Toonami was on Cartoon
Yeah.
Network. That's when we had Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah,
Sailor
Naruto.
Moon, you know, all the Naruto, those 3 were, like, the most pop some of the biggest shows on during that time, and Teen Titans came on around that time, especially they had, like, new episodes on
Mhm.
Fridays, I think. This is when Cartoon Network had the deep voice narrator whenever they,
Yes.
like, did, like, their action shows,
Yes!
and you know what I'm talking about? And so Teen Titans was the show, and so I used to watch it, especially growing up from that time it was on TV till I was growing up, till a teenager. I watched Teen Titans because they will always have a reruns on Cartoon Network and Boomerang, which is
Mhm.
a sister channel. I will watch all the Teen Titans episodes, like, several times, one after another. It was Teen Titans and X-Men Evolution, and that I was really obsessed with. I've seen those shows multiple times throughout, like, just 1 year alone. I probably watched those shows fully, like, 3 to 4 times every year. So, like, I love Teen Titans, and so imagine my surprise when they announced on there was this website called WBkids.com. And so imagine my surprise when I see they announced Teen Titans Go. It was based off of, if anybody remembers, there was this thing on Cartoon Network on Saturdays called DC Nation. And so what DC Nation did, it had Young Justice, Green Lantern, Beware the Batman, and in between those, they had the DC Nation shorts. And so you had shorts like I don't wanna call it DC Superhero Girls, but it's what DC Superhero Girls is based off of. It's with Wonder Girl, Supergirl, and Batgirl, and they came together, and so they made DC Superhero Girls after that show. Not the first DC Superhero Girls, but the one that premiered a few years ago, in, like,
Mhm.
2020 or something like that. They did a show based on that and put all those characters together, brought the voice actresses back and stuff, and they had a Teen Titans one. They had the Teen Titans shorts. The art style was based more off of the original Teen Titans. It was basically like the chibi versions of those designs, and it was more comedic. And people seemed to like that so much. They're like, let's make a whole show about that. And so that's when Teen Titans Go was introduced. And people were in an uproar. They were so upset. They hated that show so much, especially when it first came out for years upon years. You still see a little bit of it now, but not as much as it used to be because that show been on for
Yeah.
10 years now. You know, so years and years and years. But me, being me, I'm always open to new stuff. I don't care if it's horrible or not. I'm like, "I like this. I wanna watch Teen Titans Go." So I turned on Teen Titans Go. I waited for the premiere, recorded it in 2013. I was 14 years old. So, it's 10 years, but, well, I was in 8th grade and I turned it on and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I found it hilarious because the first episode was about them having to create like this legendary sandwich and whatnot. And so Teen Titans Go in the beginning, while it was comedic, was calm compared to
Yeah.
how it is now. Because you go to later episodes, it is they like every season they just go crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. Sometimes episodes can be incoherent in a few ways sometimes, but to this day, I still enjoy Teen Titans Go. Don't get me wrong, I still love Teen Titans, but I think Teen Titans Go is this whole other thing that people need to appreciate for what it is and stop trying to watch it to be
Yeah.
Teen Titans. 'Cause I think
I
it's
agree.
stupid. If you tryna watch Teen Titans from Teen Titans Go, you already know just by looking at it that it's 2 different
Yeah.
shows, you know what I mean? So, what's your
I was gonna
relationship
say
with
I also watched the original Teen Titans and was obsessed. Very, very obsessed. Like you said, when I was younger, I'm pretty sure it was that show, and then I was a Power Rangers kid. I swore I was the Red Ranger.
Me too.
I was
Don't tell me I
obsessed.
wasn't.
It's funny you bring up how, like, when it came out, people were upset because I understand. I wasn't I was really excited, obviously, because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, yes, Teen Titans is coming back." And at first, I guess I was a little I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I watching?" It's a bunch of crackheads. This is like a joke.
Mhm,
But then, like you said, I had to, realize that, it's not meant to be a continuation of the original Teen Titans. It's not meant to be taken
mhm,
seriously or, I guess, canonically, the story of these characters. It's
mhm,
meant to be, just this fun, own thing, like its own entity from
mhm. I
Teen
bet.
Titans. And I feel like once I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what that is," I enjoyed I enjoyed it a little more. I wasn't a
Mhm,
crazy fan of it, but I've seen episodes here and there, in passing. Um,
mhm,
and,
mhm,
obviously on media. And of course, my best friend who is a huge DC fan, had to watch it. Maybe not all of it. I don't know if she watched it all the way because one time
mhm.
we were in college, of course, it was hard to keep up with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Up until then though, I remember there's the song that Robin sings when he was right. And there was a time where every time she had to sing this song every time after she was right. And she was proved herself right when somebody told her she was wrong. And to this day, I remember she's like, "I knew it, I knew it, I knew it all along. You fools just didn't listen. I was right and you were wrong."
Mhm.
And I just hear it in her voice ringing in my ear.
Yes. Yes. No, Teen Titans Go, 'cause I'm good at this. I'm good at just walking into things with an open mind from the beginning that I saw the show. Like, when I saw the little picture when they announced the show and when it was gonna premiere, I knew, I said, "This is gonna be a more comedic take." I'm walking in with that mindset already. I was mature for a 14-year-old because these adults that were way older than me were like, "This is mature." I'm like, "Y'all need to calm down. Go sit down somewhere." I knew from the very beginning what it was supposed to be, and so I walked in with that mindset. And when you walk in with that mindset, Teen Titans Go is a really funny show. Not every episode hits, but when the episode hits, the episodes hit. I learned Pig Latin from watching the episode of Teen Titans Go. I literally did. So I watched the episode and they were speaking in Pig Latin for most of the show. I'm like, how do you speak Pig Latin? I watched it first. I only watched the episode twice. I watched it the first time, I was like 15, 16, 17, between that range. Watched it the first time, I'm like, "Hmm, that's interesting. What are they doing with Pig Latin? Why how are they saying it?" And so after I finished the episode, I rewound the episode and listened to the Pig Latin song, and then I realized how to speak Pig Latin, and then all of a sudden, I was, like, speaking Pig Latin. "K is Antum-Hey." It's true. If you know Pig Latin, then you know what I just said. But, and people still be confused, like, "How like, what's Pig Latin?" or whatever. I'm like, "It's very easy to speak Pig Latin once you just listen to it." I only needed to listen to it once and twice, and I got it. And so, it's funny how people be like, "Teen Titans Go is stupid, it rots your brain." I'm like, "But I learned the whole language from it, so I'm okay." So, I'm doing something right, and my favorite episodes in Teen Titans are the Night Begins to Shine episodes. Those are so fun. If they had The Night Begins to Shine specials, and so there was one special, I think they still trying to make a TV show out of it. It was the 2nd or 3rd night, I think there's only 2, but Night Begins to Shine special, and it's literally just like an action movie, literally. It's a bit more serious than your other Teen
Mhm.
Titans Go episodes, and they have these cool punk rock outfits. It has tons of fun action in it. It has this big, gigantic, like, epic battle at the end. If anybody wants to watch any episode of Teen Titans Go, I say watch the 2nd Night Begins to Shine special. The 1st one was good, but the 2nd one was just like they were killing it. They were killing it. But that's not what we talking about today. We talk about the Doom Patrol Thanksgiving special. It's not the first Teen Titans Go Thanksgiving episode. I had to pick and choose which one I wanted to see. Because I've seen just about all of them, but the Doom Patrol one, I never seen the full version of that. I only seen like one of the episodes, and then there's 2 of them, obviously, because it makes a 23-minute thing. Because this is because I was in college, and so when it came out, well, I was at school, didn't have cable, I only had Netflix, so I wasn't watching Teen Titans Go, right? And so I didn't really get the chance to watch it, and so this Doom Patrol episode, because I liked the Doom Patrol when they were in the original Teen Titans, but if you even think Teen Titans Go is somehow in the same universe, you're wrong, because this Doom Patrol is completely different from
Mhm.
that Doom.
I think this Doom Patrol is more similar to that
That
show
Doom
that came
Patrol.
out,
Mm,
this
no, they're not. The Doom Patrol show? No, the one from Teen Titans is more similar to that one than this is. Doom Patrol in its own way is always just like this quirky team. They're very quirky and they're also very dark. So when you have those 2 things together, that's how Doom Patrol always was. Ever since I don't wanna say always was. I feel like they were a bit more serious in their earlier years, but, like, when, like, Grant Morrison and a few other writers took over,
Mhm.
Gerard Way, they lean way into the kooky, and it's just, like, really just that's what Doom Patrol is, and so I liked how they had those quirky aspects of Doom Patrol and put it in Teen Titans Go, but it was just, like, really weird. So, in these episodes, not like Steven Universe, these episodes are very standalone, so if you watch one, you don't really
Yeah.
have to watch the other. They have nothing to do with each other. But the episode starts off with Elastigirl, she's fixing and I took, like, very, like, thin bone notes, I don't know how you used to say it, so if I miss some stuff, you can
Yeah.
come in, I don't care. But, we're just talking about the show. Elastigirl, she's fixing Thanksgiving dinner, and in the room with her, you have Negative Girl, because usually it's Negative Man, but we have
Mhm.
Negative Girl here, so which was very interesting. And then you have Robot Man, which I found super funny. So they changed Negative Man. I don't know if there's a Negative Girl in the comics, but they changed, as far as I know, I might be wrong. They changed Negative Man to Negative Girl for this adaptation and made her into what I thought was a child until you watch the next episode after that, and it's like, "Wait, how old are you?" Because it's when they find Beast Boy as a baby or whatever, but we'll get to that. And then Robot Man, who is a Russian in this adaptation, and it's funny because they take all of their origin stories, but then they just twist them on their head. And so Elastigirl, she's Cree Summer, so obviously, like, she's amazing in her own way. So she's cooking her dinner, and Chief and Robot Man end up fighting because Chief is
We
trying
should
to
watch
watch what's he trying to
football,
watch, like, football? Uh-huh, and Robot Man wants to
the dog
watch
show.
the dog show. Is it? Because I know on Thanksgiving they have the show, I
It
thought it
is
was a
dog
cat
show.
no, it is a dog show. Dog show. I don't know why in my head I was like, "It's a cat show, it's a cat show," but it's actually a dog show. I never watched those things. Those
I
things bore the
agree.
heck out of me. But so they were like, they were arguing and fighting and stuff, and Chief is just you already know this man is just not it. He is very just he kinda evil, that's what I'm trying to say. He uses people for his own benefit. As you can tell in all the adaptions, him and Professor X will be best friends, from X-Men, because Doom Patrol and X-Men are
Mhm.
quite similar. They would be best friends, doing little stupid deeds or doing it for the better greater good when you just a horrible person. But we're not getting
Mhm.
into that. This is not that episode. We're gonna talk about evolution. I feel like because we got to talk about that. So, anyways, his Beast Boy is there. He's visiting his family for Thanksgiving. They're having fun or whatever. Chief and Robot Man are fighting, and we learned that it was always Elastigirl's dream to be in the Codsville Thanksgiving parade. She always
Mhm.
wanted to be in it. It was always her dream, and she's sad about it. And so Beast Boy comes to his siblings, Robot Man and Negative Girl, and like, maybe he calls her mom in this, but he was like, "Maybe we should get
Mhm.
moms, I should say. Maybe we should build her a float for the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving parade." Sabrina, what you think of let's just skip because they do this whole sequence, like, with the float or whatever. What you think about their float?
Um,
Thanksgiving.
it was something. I thought it was cute that, like, so each part of the float, like, was meant to represent an aspect of them. So, of course, you have the football player getting ready to throw the ball to represent Chiefs' quote unquote "love of sports violence." There's the toilet for Beast Boy for all the poops he takes from the big Thanksgiving meal. There's, the chicken, which represents, like, negative girls, like, poor dead chicken from last year or turkey, I guess, from last year that she saved up to this point.
Yeah.
Um, and it, like,
Oh,
doesn't
that
it spit
thing.
fire,
Oh,
like,
man.
in the scene? Like, it's shown, it's just this
Yeah,
evil thing, and then, of
yeah.
course, there's the puppies to represent Robot Man's love of the dog show, and then, of course, at the very Mama Bear that is to represent Elastigirl as their mama, and it's just insane.
I forgot about
It's
the bear,
insane,
actually.
but
Yeah.
it's real cute though, because like, obviously it comes from the heart, and so, "Oh, this is amazing," and they're like, "Let's
Mhm.
go run it in the parade," and lo and behold, obviously they show up and Brain's like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm, you guys ain't getting in this show," and they try to drive anyway.
Oh, the
He just ain't having it.
I found that the brain he was not having it because he's like, I'm the one who runs this parade." Like, he was so serious
He,
about
like
this
so in this
parade.
episode, he, like, feels to me like the Karen neighbor. Like, he's just that one neighbor that is, like, always out to get everyone in that, like, family time show.
What I love about Teen Titans Go, especially in all their episodes, but, like, in this parade and stuff, you had all the DC characters that are just here for
Yeah,
this one
like, where did they
Thanksgiving
all come
parade.
from?
Aquaman and Aqualad right. Aquaman and Aqualad have, like, I think it was, like,
Mhm.
a fish balloon or whatever, and you see the characters, like and it's funny because you don't see any of the other Teen Titans in this episode. I don't even think, like, the main Teen Titans Go cast. I don't even think in the
No.
background or whatever, but everybody's there at that freaking parade. Commissioner Gordon and Batman are these
Yes.
little and they get ran over by the
Yeah,
float.
'cause, like,
And
obviously they get denied, and then they leave, and then they're like, "You know what? We're gonna go in anyway," and so they just go through this alley and punch
yeah,
their way through, knocking out some contestants. I think it was Batman and Commissioner Gordon, and, of
uh,
course, like, they're like, "Oh,
mhm.
everybody's cheering," and nobody no or no, they're like, "Oh, no, everyone is we're so good," they're shocked into silence. And of course, Brain is like, "I will not have you ruin my plan." And that's when you find out he was actually using the parade as an excuse to imprison everyone so that there would be no lines on Black Friday.
No.
Right. And so, of course, he takes his little cornucopia cannon and he's shooting everybody, like, trapping them, and that's when the Doom Patrol uses their float to take on the Brains float, and so, of course, the football player throws his football, blocks up the cannon, the chicken goes down to fight like a mecha, and, Mama
Right.
Bear takes out, Bane? Or yeah, Bane, who's controlling the cannon, like, it's all kinds of whack.
Is this it was so they like, I literally feel like in that writer's room, they just lose all sense of just, like, coherence in there. They're just like, "What can we do next that's crazy? Like,
Yes.
what is it? And then how can we make that crazier? And then add something crazier on
Yeah.
top of that." They don't let anything go. And it's funny because these aren't even like I'm laughing right now, but these are, like, not even nearly the funniest Teen Titans Go episodes. Because I thought these episodes were kinda, but I will get to that, but I still thought they were funny. They still had me laughing, and I thought it was fun. But then the next episode, I think is the better episode because they're talking about, like, the characters'
Yes.
origin stories, and so, like I said, they take them and turn them on their heads because they start off like the original origin stories, especially with Robot Man.
Mhm.
He's a race car driver. In the original, if I'm not mistaken, it I don't read much Doom Patrol, and it's been a while since I've
Mhm.
seen the show, so if DC comic fans don't come at me if I get stuff wrong. I usually just read Wonder Woman and Batman, if I'm being honest, and Teen Titans. But he in the original, he's a race car driver, of course, but he gets in an accident, which causes him to have to get his like brain moved into a robot's body because he wouldn't be able to live if he stayed human. But in this one, he's a race car driver. He doesn't get in the accident, but what he does get into is a dance battle, at the club. And
No tears at the club.
yeah, so he's dancing against this other dancer who's like and he's a good dancer or whatever, but the only dance that he cannot seem to do is the robot.
Yes.
And so he is so upset by this. He's crying and everything 'cause I can't do the robot, so I lose the dance challenge. And so the chief comes out of nowhere. He's like, "I got an idea." It's a bit crazy. I forget what he every time he said
He
he
said,
doesn't
"Are
say
you
it's
ready to get
crazy. He says it's
extreme?"
"Are you ready to get extreme?" And so to the
Yeah.
back of his
Drugs him, puts him in the back of his van.
right. Takes his brain out, puts it in a robot body, and then dumps his human body in a trash can. And so he questions it for a second, but he's like, I don't know if because I know in the other two, they're like, why don't you just do this? I don't know if he questioned, why don't you just teach me how to do the robot or
Yeah.
whatever?
Well, he did. He
But
was like, "Why didn't you just teach me how to do the dance?
he did.
Give me dance lessons."
Right. And so, yeah. And so he goes in there and he beats them in a dance challenge. And that's the end of the story. But it's like, this is the beginning of the chief. He's seeing he already was sketchy, but he's doing like real sketchy
Yes.
stuff because he does the same thing to Negative Girl. Negative Girl, she was playing in the arcade. I don't see, because Negative Man from the Doom Patrol show, what I remember from that is he was in the army. I don't really remember. I just remember he was gay and making out with one of his one of the
Yeah.
other soldiers. Uh-huh.
I would like to formally say I am not a DC, like, nerd, fan, nothing, but I did see the beginning of Doom Patrol show, like, the live action. Remember
Okay.
correctly, I think there
So
was,
what
like,
happened?
I don't know if it was a battle or something happened, but I feel like there was, like, a lab and, like, he had to, like, I don't know if they were storming it or something happened, but I feel like he came into contact
Yeah.
with some, like, kind of contaminant, and it's what made him
Uh-huh.
in a have his powers,
Yeah.
and, like, when he woke
Yeah.
up, next thing he knew, he was just infected with this, like, disease in a sense that made his body change like that.
Yeah. I just remember him hiding in the back and making out. So that's
Yeah.
don't ask me.
But,
I'm not gonna
well,
remember.
this is not
But
how Negative Girl's story goes at all. Homegirl just
that's
was at
no,
aid and just
no.
wanted a teddy bear, but she only had, like,
Yeah.
what, 10 tickets, and it was 100 tickets. So, she's obviously
Yeah.
walking in the arcade, who else does she
You
meet than Chief, who's like, "Oh, do you know how
cheese.
like, if you play this game right here, you can go ahead and get tickets you need because the jackpot was 100 tickets." So she plays with
Yeah.
her last coins only to, like, keep losing, and of course, Chief goes, "Are you ready to get
Uh-huh.
extreme?" And she's like, "Yeah, fine, if it gets me the bear."
Right.
And so, of course, he, like, on the spot, friggin' changes her body, and she's like, "Why couldn't you just give me your tickets?" And, of course,
Mhm.
well, because and he just does
But no, yeah, because no, he takes a laser, a very dangerous laser, and just shoots her with it in order for her to be negatively charged. And she at first she's like, "Wait, what?" But he just shoots her anyway, and just, she's like now this little like ghastly
yeah,
like ghostly creature that now has to be like in this mummified costume, right? She isn't in the when she in her origin story, but obviously she has to go in there. And so they get a whole bunch of tickets because she beats the game and she gets the teddy bear. But it's like, again, Chief, you did something questionable. Like, you're nearly killing these people in order for what? Like, what are you doing? What's going on? We know what's going on, but what's going
yeah,
on? Tell us. And that's when we go to like that's when we go to Elastigirl. I'm gonna ask this question at
mhm,
the end. She a famous Hollywood actress. She doing her thing. Very like in touch with the origin story of her character. I remember everybody's origin story, but Negative Man. But how he became a superhero at least. But so she's a famous actress, and she
yeah,
she keeps getting covered in slime in all the movies that she
yeah,
plays in. So the first one, she's like, "I don't want to be covered in slime again." And the director's like, "Okay." But in every single movie after that, for some odd reason, they keep shooting her with slime, like it's a whole Nickelodeon Kids' Choice
yeah,
Awards event. And so she's tired because she always wanted to be like the biggest Hollywood movie star in the world. And the chief tells her that 'cause she wants to be the biggest, right? So that she's like, "You can be the biggest Hollywood movie star if you're willing to get a little bit extreme." And what does he do? He modifies her DNA and merges it with children's clay. Okay, and so now she comes out like this blob, right? I think if anybody knows, because I don't know if people really know, think Clayface, you know what I mean? From Batman, right? Except that she can control her body more. But at first she comes out as this blob. And so she does become the biggest actress in Hollywood by becoming like this
Yeah.
Godzilla-like woman jumping up and destroying cities in the movies. And then putting slime on the director and stuff because they keep putting
Mhm.
slime with her. And it's like, why didn't you just I don't what he could have done with her
I'm sure he
actually,
got enough
if I'm
money
being
he could, like,
honest, but
bribe some people, like
to make me the biggest actress, get me out of these low
yeah.
budget movies. Why am I in a low budget movie? And I just found it I'm just like, okay, that's another sketchy thing. And so the last one, I feel like because with the other 3, they seem kinda planned, right? The last one wasn't as planned. Go ahead and
Well,
explain
so
the
of
last
course,
one,
like, it's the
Sabrina.
story of Beast Boy, and they find doorstep, and nobody really knows, obviously, how to take care of a baby, so they're like, "Oh, chief, change the diaper." And so he's like, "Okay, I'll do it this one time." But then from then on, he was, like, forever in charge of changing Beast Boy's diaper, so anytime something happened,
Mhm.
it was him. And
They're
it
like,
kinda just leads up to this
"Chief."
point where they're all sitting in the living room, and there's just dirty diapers everywhere, and Chief is like, "Had it." He's like, "I'm done. Like, this needs to change. I need to do something." So he brings him down to the lab, and he's like, "Time to do something extreme." And, of course, he injects Beast Boy with this liquid, and lo and behold, when he brings him back upstairs, he's green. And everybody's like
It's an experimental
yes.
monkey serum, actually. I'm like, "No, no, I forgot, Beast Boy, when they put him on the door, let's go back to the beginning, they had a sign that said
Oh.
"Free baby" on the doorstep, and I found that so hilarious.
It's just, like yeah, people are
That's all sorts of messed up. Y'all be saying stuff, but Teen Titans Go be dark. I remember Teen Titans Go to the movies. You ever
no.
seen that movie? Teen Titans Go to the movies? So good, so good. That's like the one thing that everybody just loves of Teen Titans Go is that movie. And they were like trying to prevent like the superheroes from becoming a superhero so they can get their own movie or whatever. And one of them, Batman, is in crime alley, right? And so they prevent his parents from getting shot so like they could live and so Batman won't become a superhero. Near the end of the movie, they go back to reverse everything, and so what they do is they take his parents and push him in the crime alley so they can get shut up and die so he can
That's
become
messed
Batman.
up. That's, like, real messed up.
It is very messed up, but that's Teen Titans Go for you because they do stuff like that, like Free Baby, monkey serum, and he injects him with monkey serum, and then so after so he does that so he can so every time Beast Boy needs to poop,
Yeah,
he
he
can
could
just
just go
become
be
an
a dog
animal
and
and
go
just
poop in the
poop
yard.
but what does he turn into? Instead of just being a dog, he decides to
Yeah, he
turn
goes
into an
and shits
ele
in the neighbor's yard.
and so in the end, they find this folder, and they're like, "Chief, what is this?" And you see the folders giving details on all their genetics and stuff, and his plans into turning them into these people with powers. And they're like, "Wait, Chief, did you do this so we can become superpower beings? So you can have this superhero team or whatever for your own will, for like
Your
for
own
your own
purposes.
whatever personal gain or whatever?" Uh-huh. And he's like, "No, I did it so you all could become a family."
Yeah,
And I'm
he's
like,
full of it.
I'm calling BS. Like, what? No, you just want to create a team of super freaks. Like, that's literally what you want to do. That's the end of the episode, but let's just call out the chief on all his shenanigans for real. Like, sir, you telling me you gave all them superpowers, like damage like their livelihoods. One of them is a robot. Another one of them is, like, negatively charged, and she has to stay in this costume for the rest of her life. At least Elastigirl can pass as a regular human because all she does is stretch, and she can shapeshift and stuff, but she can keep control of her body, you know what I mean? Beast Boy is green forever. He'll never be a regular person, and so I'm just like, "You did that all so we can become a family?" Why didn't you just invite us over to Thanksgiving dinner then? Why didn't you, like, naturally just try to talk to us? And then even that would be predatory. So let's just call it for what it is, chief. You're crazy and you wanted superheroes. That's
Yeah,
it.
that sounds about right.
And it's okay. It's okay if you admit to that. You know what I mean? Be crazy, tell the truth, but don't sit here and pretend like you just wanted to make a family because you could have grown. Like all this technology you had, you could have grown a
I
family. You know what
know.
I mean? Go all poison ivy, got
He
a
coulda
plant
done
or
it.
something.
He just wanted to ruin some people's lives.
So, out of this Doom Patrol Thanksgiving special, what would you rate out let's see, out of 5 freaks? How many freaks out of 5 would you rate this Doom Patrol Thanksgiving
So
special?
that's hard. So again, it's been a while since I've seen Teen Titans Go, so my memory's pretty foggy.
Mhm,
But I have to say this was a relatively good episode because it comes, I guess, a little later than when I was
mhm,
watching. So I'd maybe give it a 4 out of 5.
mm.
It was funny. It was
See,
like it was cute. It was a little holiday-ish.
'cause I was having trouble figuring out which Thanksgiving episode, because they had one where Raven's dad comes for Thanksgiving. They had another one which was super funny. I remember watching it when Starfire, had to go Black Friday shopping, and she was, like, getting obsessed with Black Friday shopping. I remember that one. But this one, I didn't really watch as frequently because I told you I only saw, like, bits and pieces of this one. I never
Mhm.
watched the full episode. And so I would say I would rank it a 4 out of 5 too, but I would actually rank, like, the first part, like, a 3 out of 5. 'Cause I liked it, but it wasn't as funny. It had its moments that really made me laugh, but the second part, I would rank a 4 out of 5 because it's just, like, that was messed up and, like, dark and just that man is
Yeah.
not okay. And I found out, like, that I found that hilarious to just he did all that stuff just to make a superhero team. It's like, yeah,
Evil
that's
people and their
messed up.
nefarious
But yeah.
purposes.
But out of both of these, Teen Titans Go and Steven Universe, which one do you think is I don't wanna say is more Thanksgiving which one would you recommend, viewers to watch the
So I think
most?
it was that's hard because obviously I'm biased to Steven Universe. I wanna say, like, it's super cute, but if, like, we're looking I feel like Teen Titans Go definitely leaned a little more, like, actually holiday. So, like, if you're definitely looking for a specific
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving episode, I think I'd definitely say that one. But if you're open to something a little more, like, I say open, like, not necessarily as Thanksgiving holidays, like, because to be honest, I'm not super into always watching, like, holiday specials, just because I know sometimes
No Charlie
Huh?
Brown? No Charlie Brown?
That's a classic, so if it's on, I'll sit down, but I won't go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think yeah, I would recommend Teen Titans Go for, like, a Thanksgiving. I recommend both of them, first of
Mhm.
all, watch both. But I would choose Teen Titans Go for more of the Thanksgiving feels because they literally just say it's a
Yeah,
Thanksgiving special. Like, it's outright Thanksgiving. You got your turkey, you got your parade, you got your dog show. They make fun of
yeah,
all
the
the different
stereotypes.
Thanksgiving, like, traditions and stuff. And so that was fun to watch. And Steven Universe was just a bit more heartwarming. If you wanna watch, like, a family thing that's just, like, really just really heartwarming, you still get a laugh out of it, but you also get the feels. Go watch Steven Universe because I think it was really fun. But it was also nice watching Teen Titans Go and seeing Beast Boy in a different element that's
Yeah,
not
with
just
the
with
rest of
the
the
rest of
team.
the Teen
I think that was, like, one of the things I
Uh-huh.
enjoyed most. Not that I disliked the team, but I just felt like it was, like, a different element. It was a little cozier.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not their dynamic is already set in stone. Like, even compared to the original Teen Titans, their dynamic is quite similar with everybody still. Like, it's turned up to 11, right? But the dynamic is still similar. Beast Boy and Cyborg are
Mhm.
still best friends. Robin still has a crush on Starfire. It's more one-sided in this one, but, like, Robin still has a crush on Starfire. Starfire still talks in her little alien speech, and Raven's still, like, the ones like, why am I
Yeah.
here with you people? Get away from me." So, like, the dynamics were have been already set in stone years prior, but they what they did with the Doom Patrol is that they took the team, made them completely different from not completely different, but they turned their personalities up to 11 and just did all the weirdest parts of them and just, like, went and
Mhm.
had fun. So, yeah, it was great. So, now that we talked about these episodes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna quiz each other. So, I'm gonna quiz you on Steven Universe. I mean Steven Universe. Yeah, I'm gonna quiz you on Steven Universe. You're gonna quiz me on Teen Titans Go with our quiz. We had a host, but the host decided to that they had to do some. I mean, not decided. They had to do something else, and so we're just gonna be each other's host. So go and get Professor S Sabrina, and I'll go get Professor Hotness, and we'll have some fun.
Okay.
That babies. It's me, Professor Hotness. And today I'm joined by Professor S as we quiz each other on these episodes of Steven Universe and Teen Titans Go. Here's how it goes. We each have 10 questions, and we're gonna quiz each other on the answers. Whoever wins will get the turkey Thanksgiving trophy. It's a fictional trophy that I just made up just now, so don't worry about it. Let's get started. Professor S, I'm gonna quiz you on Steven Universe. Do you think you're really a fan of this Steven Universe Gem Harvest episode?
I know I'm definitely a fan of Steven Universe. However, whether or not my technological knowledge is on the Harvest episode, I may or may not be screwed.
Let's get started. All right, question number 1. What are Peridot and Lapis having trouble doing in the beginning of the episode?
They are struggling to make sentient harvest, so vegetables that talk and perform similar to gems.
Blah, blah, blah. You already explained. I don't care. That's correct. What's the name of Greg's cousin?
His name is Andy. Andy DeMayo.
What is Stephen and Greg's original last name?
DeMayo.
You think you know things. But it's not true. It's just because I'm a great teacher.
I don't know about that.
How did the gems convince Andy to stay at the bar?
They extend the offer to have a Thanksgiving meal. Or not Thanksgiving, but a giant meal similar to his family.
Really? What does Steven create to make Peridot and Lapis feel better?
He creates Pet Pumpkin.
What do Pearl and Peridot use to create the oven cooktop combo?
They use the Family DeMayo engine.
What is the DeMayo family tradition?
The family tradition is to have one giant meal that everyone makes together on the bar.
And what else? There's another part of it that you may not know.
Sneaky. I believe, don't they also fly the planes? Oh, damn.
No.
I don't know.
Steven mentions it. To have 100 turkey dinners.
How does a whole family have 100 turkey dinners? Are you sure?
You tell me.
That's worse. Anyway.
So you have correct. What gifts do the gems come back with for Andy?
They come back with a wedding cake, an It's a Boy balloon, and a tombstone.
That says...
Oh, Andy. Rip Andy.
Why does Steven want to get to know Andy?
Because they're family, and he wishes to get to know a human side of his family rather than just the gems.
And what do we discover about Greg Universe and Rose Quartz marriage?
They were never actually truly married.
Correct. Darn it, you've got 9.5 out of 10.
Let's see if you can do just as well.
Don't lie. Obviously, I know what I'm talking about.
If you say so.
And if I don't, it's just a trick to put you off your game.
Hey. Are you ready for your questions regarding Teen Titans Go, a Doom Patrol Thanksgiving?
Go ahead and spout them out.
Question number 1. What town does Doom Patrol live in?
Crap. Is it Codsville?
That is correct.
Oh, I knew that.
Okay. What ingredients does Elastigirl use to make the dish in the first scene?
She uses ingredients. What do you mean? Turkey? I don't know. Yes, I do know. She uses food and more food. That's obviously
It's not your final answer.
She uses food. What other ingredients is there in food?
She uses Doritos and hot dogs.
She uses Doritos and hot dogs. That's what I said.
Okay. What show did Robot Man want to watch instead of football?
He wanted to watch the dog thingy, the dog show. The boring thing after Thanksgiving parades.
Good job. Why does Negative Girl like building stuff?
What? I do remember this because I know what I'm talking about. She likes building stuff because she
never knows when someone is going to get mutilated.
She never knows when someone's going to get mutilated. That's what I was about to say. I was just giving it some suspense as per usual because hotness requires suspense.
What does Brain shoot from his cornucopia cannon to imprison people at the parade?
Corn?
It's cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce. Oh, yes. He does shoot that cranberry sauce. And it's not only just cranberry sauce, it's store-bought cranberry sauce from the can thing.
What is the name of the nightclub that Robot Man has a dance competition in?
Dance? I don't know. Do I pay attention to this stuff? I'm a professor. I don't have to pay attention to just small details. F. You get an
Das
F.
Uns Club.
Oh,
It's
right.
a dance club.
I was Right, so never
Alright.
mind, never mind. You don't get an F.
What game does Negative Girl have to beat in order to get 100 tickets?
That spaceship
Correct.
game.
What is Elastigirl's body integrated with to make her stretchy?
Children's clay. Did I say that's
Yeah.
children's clay?
What does Chief inject into Beast Boy to give him powers?
Monkey serum. This green monkey serum that he just injects in a baby like some crazy person ready to start a superhero team for no reason whatsoever.
Whose garden does Beast Boy
I
poop in at the end of the episode?
They're neighbors. I think it's Brain. Is Brain their neighbor? Yes. They poop in his. That's his villain origin story. It's not that he's a brain who. I know him personally. We talk all the time. It's not that he's just a brain in some containment suit. It's because they pooped in his yard. He never got over it. And so every time the Doom Patrol comes in his vicinity, he has to let them know who he is. Let's just say that.
Okay.
We're good friends, Brain and I.
Well, Professor, it seems that I won, for you only received a 7 out of 10.
F. 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 You got an F.
No, I got 9.5.
I lied. 9.5 out of 10 is an F. I have an A. That is the Professor Hotness grading scale, and that's the grading scale we're using today.
Well, if I got an F, I'd hate to know what you
Professor S.
got with a 7 out of 10.
I just said I got an A. The less you get it right, the more your grade
So what I'm
is.
hearing, F is
upper.
fantastic and A is abominable.
Do you have a dictionary? Because you're an aberration, Professor S. You know nothing. You are not formidable. Not at all. I am the stuff. I created this game, and I'm the winner.
It sounds
Well, Kaiser
like
created the game. I'm gonna
you
have
have a
to talk about
problem.
this.
Maybe you weren't as good of a teacher as you
I'm your
thought.
professor.
Or maybe
You know not what you're talking about, you
I take that
wench.
back. Maybe you were a good teacher because
I'm
I know well. However, maybe you were a poor student. But it's okay. Now,
I'm about to call a friend. Hello, Brain. I need you to do a favor for me.
villain arc aside, I believe we shall return to our regularly scheduled programming with Kaiser and Sabrina. Alright.
Wow, Sabrina, that was dramatic. They always arguing. I don't understand. Why can't they be good friends like us? And like, it's okay to argue, but like, this is throwing insults at each other. This is
I
not
know.
okay.
Villains
It's
and
not
their
okay.
egos, right?
Attacking each other. I know. Like, now he said he gonna have a talk with me. I ain't got time for that.
I know, you
He
got
blocked.
so much stuff to do.
I'm letting him know.
You're just too busy.
Like, I'm too busy. Like, I have to sit down and go to sleep. I don't have time to be wasting listening to all your complaints all day. Go
Yeah.
away. Like, sleep. So how did you enjoy this Thanksgiving special? Gobble gobble.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Like, it was a fun change. Like, we were talking about doing Steven Universe, and then we were like, "Nah, nah." You wanted to do the Thanksgiving episode. I thought it was really fun. Maybe we can even do a Christmas episode depending on how long we extend our animation
OMG.
takeover.
You know what, guys? I'm deciding right here. It's gonna go on till the end of the year, and then we'll have a New Year's special to end off the
Yeah.
animation takeover. Because why not? It's my podcast. I can be experimental with it if I want to. This will not become an animation podcast next year, but for the rest of this year, the IAFO Fans podcast is Animation
Whoop,
Takeover.
whoop.
You heard it here first. Exclusive news. The people that listen to this. So we're gonna be talking about some stuff. Actually, guys, I have a thing for you. If you have any suggestions of shows that you want us to watch for the rest of the year, just leave a comment in the bottom of Just leave a comment in the descriptions. I don't know. Just leave a comment wherever you leave your comments. You can either leave comments on Spotify where I can ask you questions exclusively on there. You can leave one on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we will always read your podcast. But I see a lot of people leave 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, but don't leave comments. Leave a comment with your 5-star review, and that way we'll be able to know what you want to talk about. Or you can email us at iafofans@gmail.com. IAFOAnimationTakeover.com. I think that's all of the
Mhm.
resources, right? Go to our Instagram too if you want. There was a guy that went on my Instagram once and started insulting me, saying that stuff about my trailers or whatever, and so that was fun. It was a great time. It was great. I said, "I made it. I have a hater. I love to see it." That's my favorite thing to do. It's true, it's true. It's so fun. Hopefully, you'll have some come on, the IOFO fans
Oh,
towards
yeah.
Sabrina too. One
Yeah, with the
not
canceled
really,
episode, I'm
not
sure they're
really.
gonna just believe it, take it all as fact.
Right.
I'm gonna get canceled for
Mm.
real.
Yeah, Z-Way. Oh, yes, guys, go listen to "So I'm a Fan of Z-Way," a bad Z-Way parody. That episode was really
Yeah.
fun, roasting Sabrina. Maybe you should do one day, Sabrina. Attack a
Oh,
black
no.
man, why don't you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'll just maybe that's, like, the episode where we have, like, a 3rd host, like, your sister can come on and roast you, and I'll just be sitting there with the popcorn, and I'll just be like, "Yes, yes, yes, ma'am. That's
Mm,
right, that's right."
I'm not sure my sister's that clever, but we can see. I can have both of them
They can
come on,
tag team you.
actually. I don't think they're that clever. They're that smart, but we'll see. We'll see. But thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. I hope that you have a great Thanksgiving, and if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope that you eat
Yeah.
food anyway and just
Have
have
a nice day off.
fun. So have fun, have a great time, eat that food, go party, don't do drugs, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. I can't get my freaking microphone. Bye.